Introducing Carvana Value Tracker, where you can track your car's value over time and learn what's driving it. It might make you excited.
Whoa, didn't know my car was valued this high.
It might make you nervous.
Uh-oh, market's flooded. My car's value just dipped 2.3%.
It might make you optimistic.
Our low mileage is paying off. Our value's up.
And it might make you realistic.
Car prices haven't gone up in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to sell.
But it will definitely make you an expert on your car's value. Carvana Value Tracker. Visit Carvana.com to start tracking your car's value today.
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
Or they think they can't talk, or they're going to get in trouble. I don't know.
Tyler, I love it. You're a smart cat. So here's what I always tell people. If your kid is sick, would you take her to the auto mechanic to be healed? If your car breaks down, would you take it to the beauty salon to be fixed? I mean, there's people that specialize in every field out there. So stop listening to some knucklehead who sits on a bucket tell you about recruiting, and actually research and figure it out yourself. And if you make it...
Hey, what's going on? Tyler here with Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, bringing you a brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast. Today I had a chance to sit down with Scott Woodcock. He's the assistant head coach at the University of Maine. We talked about living in Maine, we talked about recruiting, a lot about the game, and we got into detail about how travel ball prepares you for the college game. Check it out. All right. Well, Scott, man, it's a pleasure to talk to you. It's great to meet you. I know we've talked a little bit through social media, and we kind of got connected. When did you get started in coaching at a high level? How did that come about for you?
At a high level, well, I mean, obviously, I started out in the travel ball ranks, and I was fortunate enough to have daughters that kept me involved, and had some good mentors, through that side of it. So let me back up a little bit. I'm a network engineer by trade, after the military. So I was working with Sprint, and, I was working 80, 90 hours a week. Didn't have a lot of time for family, let alone softball. It's kind of a blessing in disguise when the economy crashed, back in 2008, whatever it was. I had been helping some kids, get recruited at that point, just kind of on the side. I kind of figured out, some ways to help them out, was having a little success, and lost my job in the telecom world. Was out of work 29 months. From a real corporate job, was having a really hard time getting back into the corporate world, and decided to take up the recruiting stuff full time.
Right.
So that kind of played into, some opportunities that, presented itself. I was coaching travel ball and helping kids get recruited, and, just kind of, got connected along the way. And I wanted to continue helping the kids with recruiting. I really enjoyed it. To me, it was very rewarding. I felt like my process was better than most. I wasn't flooding coaches with kids that couldn't legitimately play at their program. There was a plan worked out for each individual athlete, based on where they could legitimately play, what they wanted to major in, what their bubble was, how far away from home they wanted to go. So we worked out a plan. I had some success, and all of a sudden the opportunity presented itself to coach NAI, which was great because I didn't have any rules, with the recruiting stuff, the way that NCAA has. I was able to, continue helping the kids, but stay involved in the game. And I've had some good mentors over the years that, helped me along. And I took every opportunity I could to take clinics and, learn from people and whatnot. And, I tell people today the blessing to this whole thing, to actually doing what I completely love in the softball world was losing my job at Sprint. So it worked out.
It's funny that you mentioned it that way of, it just kind of grew into something of it, kind of like your life just led you into it. And I think that's how we find, something that the ones that are lucky enough to make a career out of, or a job, that something that we truly love doing, it kind of just happens and it's nothing that's forced. So with you coming up through, the travel ball ranks, tell us a little bit about up in the Northeast, about the, the 14s, 16s, and 18s, as those girls are kind of looking into colleges and stuff. Because I know travel ball is different everywhere. Kind of give us a snapshot of the travel ball scene up around, the Northeast.
So, I mean, I'm from Kansas City. I coach travel ball in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
It is very different than the Northeast in some respects. They can be on the dirt a little sooner. The winters aren't as long. Many of the kids in the Midwest are a little more dedicated to one sport, as where, in the Northeast, I've noticed, because softball isn't such a year-round sport. Many of them have the advantages of playing basketball and volleyball and things like that. And so it's slightly different in the Northeast, but there's some very competitive kids in the Northeast, and some really good organizations, some organizations that represent nationally and play all over the country. So, this summer was a long recruiting summer, and I had a chance to follow several of those teams in many states. So, yeah.
That's cool. I forgot that you were out of the Midwest. So, as far as like the summertime goes, it's about a 6-week, 8-week window of like the national tournaments, a lot that's going on. So, being now what you're at, working up there in Maine, is it like even more of a crunch for those teams that are trying to get out to that national stuff where they're competing against girls that have really played like 7 months out of the year, and the girls that they're in some of these colder states, they're trying to keep up, I want to say. But do you see that like almost like there's different tiers to it, or different competitions, the level of competition?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's several things that really stand out as being different to me. Texas kids, for example, they don't feel as much pressure, when it comes to recruiting.
They play like 11 months out of the year in Texas.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have, the times of year where they're actually being recruited. The difference is, they're in an area where they can continue to work out and get good video and good updates. What I've noticed in the Northeast is several coaches and kids are feeling the pressure. So they're I don't want to say pushing kids on you, but they're more aggressive about getting, the kids in front of you, in front of us, that, they feel that, need to be recruited. And so it's a little more relaxed in other parts of the country. A lot of travel coaches kind of let us feel our way through and take our time with the kids, that kind of thing. And then I think that part is one of the biggest things that stands out up in this area. And it's not everyone, don't get me wrong. It's just a little more common up here with some coaches, some organizations.
Yeah, I hear a lot of, making sure that you're getting in front of the right college coaches. Don't just go because you want to go to this camp or you want to do something. Having the right coaches that know that, okay, this player is probably not at that level, or this player would fit perfect. So doing that research with the coaches instead of just like forcing them onto that coach, where the coaches are just like, look, we have 6 or 7 just like her that are sophomore, juniors, seniors and stuff. Just right now, the window for her isn't what we're looking at right now, or we're already done recruiting this class, or we're done recruiting that class. It's just not open right now. As a coach, as a recruiter, how do you go about trying to relay that message to the coach, not, hurting relationships, and definitely not trying to dash the dreams of that, that prospect?
Yeah, it's a very delicate thing. I love this game. I think it's a beautiful game. I think some of the things that are wrong with the game, the transfer portal, for example, and the recruiting process itself is just, somewhat broken. And part of it is on, the rules of NCAA, what we're allowed to do. I like the new contact periods. I think it slows it down. I think it lets the kids be kids, and not have the pressure of committing at such a young age and that kind of thing. The difference is, I think for me, we're a little slower to recruit here in Maine. Obviously, being a little further north and a little, we're not as engaged, as a lot of coaches, throughout the country that have the ability to go out and see kids every single weekend. We just can't do that. It's not practical for us. So we have to, take our time, really kind of get to know the kids. One of the biggest things with recruiting is actually connecting with the kids. Nobody wants kids to end up in the portal. And so the last thing I want is for someone's daughter to be super unhappy up here because she made a bad decision. So we kind of take our time through the process. We're really good at vetting the kids. And you're not just looking for talent, you're looking for character. You're looking for kids that really kind of fit with your culture. But I think one of the biggest things is so many of them aren't really being told where they can legitimately play. Someone's feeding their ego, and so for us, you have to filter through and, can the kid legitimately play here? You get a lot of kids that say, coach, I'm a D1 hitter. Okay. Show me the events that you're playing at where, you're up against D1 pitching, or vice versa with pitchers. Show me the events where you're playing at where you're sitting down D1 hitters. So I think they just need to take a step back. First off, the only person that's ever going to remember that they played D1 ball is dad, 20 years from now. Everyone's going to know that they got a quality education. So, I think we need to, kind of step back and think it's not certainly all about the level. The level of competition at the D1 level is better. The game is faster. And let's be honest, 8 and 9 hole hitters these days aren't what they used to be. These kids hit these days. So the game has changed for the better in that regard, but we're just being flooded with so many kids that aren't being realistic where they can legitimately play. And then they have pipe dreams, and they forget about the education aspect. So I get a lot of kids, again, I hate to use the word pushed on me, but we don't offer their major. We're a little too far away. And now, so I'm investing my time, in someone that isn't truly aware of what Maine is like.
Right.
So
I talked about that the other day on one of the calls that I was doing. It's like, if you're from Florida and you've never been to Iowa, you don't know anything about the cold, chances are they're not going to be recruiting you as heavy or as hard unless you're a unicorn that just wants to go to Iowa if they're out of Iowa. Now, it does happen, but there's a lot of stuff that has to fall in for you to be a good fit, not only for yourself personally at that school, but for that coaching staff and for everything that's going on. So just because you see, Maine's got an opening and they need a shortstop or a second base, you just throw your stuff out there and hoping that it sticks. It doesn't work like that, does it?
No, you have to be very aware of what Maine is like and that kind of thing. And again, we vet the kids pretty well. I mean, they understand that it's Maine. It's cold. We get a ton of snow. But we're very well prepared up here. I remember last season, we had 8 or 10 inches on the ground already and got blasted overnight on a Friday night, 22 inches. We had practice the following morning, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Not a single kid was late to practice. So it's very well prepared. Now, part of it is we're all pitching in, helping each other dig out and that kind of thing. But the plows are constantly going. You can get around very easily. But, if you're not used to that amount of snow or, the low temperatures or the long winters, and it certainly took me some time to acclimate last year too, as my first year. But
So you talking about like the community and kind of a sense of togetherness, a sense of culture. You were in the Marine Corps and you learned how to adapt and overcome to different scenarios and different things. So going from the Midwest up to the Northeast, what was that number one, biggest change outside of climate and weather that you had to get used to, dealing with, the school, the public, the players, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, there was one step in between going from the Midwest to coming to the Northeast. I lived in Tennessee, in Southeast Tennessee for 5 years. I joke with people and say I didn't even own pants when I came to Maine. The weather was really nice in Chattanooga, and
right.
And so I think the biggest thing is, first off, it's dark at 4 o'clock, if not sooner. Winters are longer. And surprisingly, people actually walk around and have really good lives in the winter up here. They're very active in the winter, but you have to get used to that kind of thing. So I think the biggest thing for me was the cultural aspect of it. The culture up here and the way people do things is very different than what I'm used to. Mainers are probably some of the most genuine and really selfless people, but they're very like traditional and stuff too. So they have, I don't know, potato season up here. Like the kids are out of school for 2 weeks and they go help farmers, like
that's cool,
dig potatoes. And
that's cool.
You've got different seasonal aspects, and right now we're in blueberry and lobster season, but it's also whale watching season. So right. There's I'm not used to any of that where I come from. So kind of getting used to it. And Mainers, they don't lock their doors. It's a very safe and secure place, but I think they just have the mindset that if someone really needs it, then they could ask, we'd give it to them, but they're welcome to it. And that's kind of like how they just live life. It's much slower and easygoing. And so I've had to slow down a little bit and really kind of learn and whatnot. But I'm having a blast and really loving it up here. And I really feel like it's a hidden gem that a lot of people really need to discover.
So playing ball up here in the Northeast, when we start talking about competition, we were talking a little bit ago about playing in the fall. It starts to get cold in the fall up there. So you're playing I'm assuming you're playing a lot of teams that are kind of used to that. There's not very many teams that are coming up from the South to go to play in the cold. You guys are coming down. So first question is, when you're playing in the fall and the girls are getting acclimated to playing outside.
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
This is the smell of the leftover tuna fish sandwich you left in your lunchbox over the weekend in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag.
Hefty, hefty, hefty.
Ah, smell the difference? Hefty Ultra Strong has Arm & Hammer with continuous odor control, so no matter what's inside your trash, you can stay one step ahead of stinky. And for bigger jobs, try the superior strength of Hefty Large Black Bags.
You know, what is your kind of like your routine to make sure that we are getting our bodies seasoned to play in that colder weather in the fall? Then early in the spring, it's still cold. You know, what are we doing with bats, making sure, you know, the hydration, we're stretching, these cold injuries and stuff like that. So what are we doing up there to kind of prevent this stuff? And what do you have in place? What programs do you have in place for that?
Wow. I honestly don't know that there's much preparation that takes place. We have a player on our team that wears leggings all year long while she's up here. She's from California. They're fully outfitted. They have tons of gear. We have a dome that we transition into once we go, off the field to inside. And sometimes you don't even know the temperature in the dome, because of the pressure changes. They can't keep the heat on all the time. And, so sometimes you're layered up in the dome, but that's been one of the biggest things is you really learn to layer here, and you just shed them if you need to and whatnot. But I've been colder places,
right?
Along Boston is 3.5, 4 hours south of here. I think it's a little colder. New York is colder. I don't know what it is about, just coming kind of north of that parallel or whatever, but honestly, I don't know if there's much preparing for it. You just kind of, you look like the kid from the Christmas Story with your arms out and got all your layers on and
try to swing it back.
How you do it sometimes. Yeah.
Well, when we're talking recruiting and, there's different sectors and there's different things that you're looking at. When you're out on the recruiting trail, are you one of the ones that kind of fits in and doesn't want to stand out? Or do you kind of let, players know that you're there? Or do you let coaches know that you're there? Do you want to kind of read the parents, read the coaches, read the teams at different terms, see how they act? Yeah,
great question. So first off, Maine, being out this summer, I realized that we don't have a huge footprint in the recruiting world. I got asked a couple of times, Maine has softball. I pulled out the Jake line, from Major League, and it said, yeah, we have uniforms and bats and everything. It's pretty cool. There was times where, I really want the logo to stand out. So I wear the big one across my chest. And, there's other times where, the logo across your, the little one like this one is okay. But, there's other times too that you're kind of standing, incognito, maybe even wearing civvies and, standing back. And so it just kind of depends on the event, the team, maybe the kid. I've had a kid that I had seen before, and then she noticed that I was there and just kind of fell apart. So I went out to see her again because I knew that was probably part of it. And, I stayed in the back and wasn't blasting my colors and my logo everywhere. And, I got to see her play a little more relaxed. So you just kind of figure it out. But honestly, a lot with recruiting is relationship building and getting to know travel coaches and, learning to trust one another and that kind of thing. So then you have moments where, it doesn't really matter where you stand, what you wear. You've got that trust built up and that kind of thing. So you feel it out, and figure it out along the way. I learned one of my peers at another school gave me the flip-flop rules this summer. So we were in Kansas City. It was very hot at Top Gun, and apparently I'm supposed to be in nice shorts and shirt if I'm going to wear flip flops. So there's the 2 out of 3 rule. So you kind of figure it out.
Would you say that the emails that you get from girls saying, hey, we're coming to a camp, or hey, I got this tournament, I'm going to this location, do you say that they're generic in nature and it almost feels like a formality? Or do you actually get something out of those emails that you get? Either it's coming to a camp, or hey, here's my schedule, I'm going to this showcase, or I'll be in this tournament.
I love the email topic. It comes up at camps quite a bit. 95% of the time, those emails are copy and pasted. I got one yesterday that was addressed to the coaches at the University of Massachusetts.
Roger that. Good to go.
Sometimes things just don't get, fixed in the copy and paste.
Right.
And it's really discouraging, honestly. When they don't get your school right, or, I've gotten emails before addressed to another coach and completely spelt my name wrong if that was the case. But I would say 95% of the time, the emails are just generic. There's been several kids that I've really dug into and made some calls on and looked at video, and come to find out they're not even interested. They want to stay closer to home. So some of the platforms don't help because it gives them the ability to, kind of blast out to everyone. But my biggest thing is we get so many emails, and we have to, for lack of a better word, like filter them out somehow. We have to, get rid of them, right? So what I've kind of learned over the years is the ones that have video attached, I file into one place where I'll look at first. The ones that don't have video, I want to read them because someone took the time to either copy and paste or write me a genuine email.
Right.
So I don't delete them right off the bat, but I scroll through, and the subject lines that stand out the best, usually the ones that get open first, because they were creative enough and whatnot to get my attention. And then, kids that send me their schedule and, are genuine about, things in the email, I always try to at least make an appearance. Even though I may not even be looking at their grad year and position. But you can't do it with everyone, obviously. And, I think most coaches out there really try.
Or when you get out there to like a showcase that you've been invited to, and you're looking at different things, just speaking in generalities, those girls that have sent that email, or at least said, hey, I'm playing this team or at this time or whatever. If you have the time and you can, is that something that you look at? You're looking at the competition level that she's playing. You're looking at, the different places, and, is that something that you let her know, hey, that you are coming so that the coach can make sure she's playing, or do you let it kind of happen organically?
I usually let it happen organically, unless I have a connection with the coach, or it's a kid that obviously I'm able to talk to and have talked to before.
Right.
Sometimes I'll mention, hey, I'm planning to come out to your 10 o'clock game. If at all possible, can you make sure that you're, playing short, this position? Because you do get out from time to time and kids are playing in, different positions and that kind of thing. But, the problem is you can't always let them know. We looked at a lot of 2024s this summer, and we're not allowed to talk to them, so you just kind of have to make it work the best you can, and you figure it out. But, I think one of the biggest misconceptions out there is I think a lot of players, travel coaches, parents think that they'll go play this showcase and that showcase and all the kids will be seen. it's not how it works at all. When we walk into the park, we've got a clipboard. We know exactly who we're going to see at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, what field they're on. And if we're watching a game, it's usually because we don't have anything scheduled and we're just kind of wandering. And we're not really focused on anything, but a very small percentage of the time a kid is actually found right place, right time. Most of the kids that are getting recruited are the ones that did the work, sent the emails and did the appropriate things to get us to the field. So
it's crazy that I'm pretty heavy into social media, and Twitter has gotten just crazy with players and their prospects and stuff like that. And I'm not going to mention the girl out by name, but I'm not a recruiter, but I'm telling you, the way the girl runs her Twitter, it's like she's in sales. I mean, she's trying to get that bite, just, get you intrigued enough to go, well, let me click on her profile and see what's up, because it's short, sweet, to the point. It's not just crazy videos and it's bad camera angles. We can't see anything anyway. But what it is, it's like she'll list, this is what I'm doing. These are my dates that I'm playing. And if I can, this is who I'm playing against. And then she'll recap that with her highlights, and it's all in one picture. And you can see just real quick, and boom, it goes on to the next. So she's very efficient with it. And then you'll see that people are just not efficient at all. So with social media, in recruiting alone, how much do coaches like yourself pay attention to and almost start the recruiting process with a player just on social media alone and what they're doing?
Wow, good question. Not very often. Honestly, the ones that mention me or tag me in it, I look at 100% of them. But, at the end of the day, you've got limited time, especially certain times of year. And you just don't have time to just go surfing through, social media and various.
You get lost in it. I mean, it's so much out there.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, the truth is, since the first time I started coaching, there's a billion more teams playing today. And then, everybody and their mother, creates a tournament and throws the word showcase on the end, and it all of a sudden becomes important to a lot of people. But most coaches, I tell people all the time, I'm not standing next to Mike White and Kenny Gajewski and looking at a different kid. We're looking at the same kid. The difference is I'm realistic to know that, they probably have a much better chance of getting them than I do. So, I'm trying to identify someone else as well. So it's crazy. The amount of time that people think that we have to go surf through that stuff, and we just don't. That's just the truth of it.
Yeah, this time of year, the summer season is kind of wrapping up, and you have these national level tournaments. And you see that World Series thrown around. You see the national championship thrown around. You see a lot of that stuff. PGF and Alliance. Alliance has gotten a lot of traction. It seems to me, from the outside looking in with the Alliance, that the higher caliber teams that play that national schedule seem to be getting into those Alliance tournaments, qualifying for them the right way, almost like college where there's conferences, and you have to qualify. Just because you have a big name and you've got some big time director doesn't mean you're automatically in. And then you have to play, and they have it set up like regions, super regionals, and then down to the Elite Eight, and then to Final Four and a championship. That level of youth travel softball has had a great impact on having players that are quote unquote ready for that next level. When they play PGF Alliance and their teams are coming from all over, so the competition is good, can you see an immediate difference in those players when they get on campus just by the competition they've played alone?
100%. So, I mean, look, college softball, 1,680 programs in the country offer softball. Average roster size is 21, I believe it is. So, I mean, that's 35,000 kids that get to play college softball every year. That's the best of the best. Right. So we want to see the kids competing at their highest level against the best competition possible, because that's how we view our own programs. And I mean, that's certainly the direction here at the University of Maine. We want to be obviously a national contender, and we know that we have some work, and we know what that work is. And it starts with recruiting, connecting with the kids, having the right culture, and developing them along the way. And if they're just not playing that level of competition, it's really tough. But yes, 100%, when the kids get on campus, you can tell the ones that have really competed hard against, big teams. I think base running is probably one of the most undercoached things in the game, and arguably one of the most important things. And you can tell by the way a kid moves on the bases, based on the level of play that they've competed at. And that's just one small example.
I see, I got a couple of buddies that are that run some of the bigger organizations that play at the highest level. And it's almost like a brotherhood, sisterhood between those. They understand, they've been doing it a while. They want their organizations to succeed. That's why they're there. But all of them are doing it at such a high level that it is competition, but they're helping each other along the way. It's like, McDonald's and Burger King right beside each other. They do the same thing, and they both try to succeed. As we're wrapping this up into the summer, getting into that fall schedule, when you can start talking to these the players and stuff like that, do you have conversations with the coaches and the organization, the directors, to kind of see what the girls are interested in and like what schools are looking for? Like how much dialogue do you have with the head of the organization, the big time organizations, that can kind of feed into the pipeline or something like that?
Yeah. Occasionally is the truth of it. I mean, honestly, when you've been around as long as I have, I know the organizations and the coaches that are feeding their own egos when it comes to getting their kids committed. So many of the time you're working with the kid direct if you can. I also I feel like I'm pretty connected to a lot of organizations. And so, a kid may play for ABC organization, and I'll make a call to XYZ organization to say, hey, tell me about this kid. She's in your area. I know you're competing against her. And so I think that happens for me a little more often than actually working inside the kid's own organization, because, I need some outside perspective too, and not just a salesperson. So
I like that. I never looked at it that way. I think that's big. I will be passing that along, because I think that brings a new perspective to people. I don't think understand that. You don't live in a box, so you're trying to get as much information about that player, that prospect, to make sure she is a good fit for your team.
Right.
Going off of that, how does her network impact?
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom? sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Your decision, just in general, not just you personally, but a decision made by the coaching staff, if this player is a good fit or not. Because, yeah, she can play. She's got good grades. But we're down to these two. We got to split hairs here. Her network is this player's network is this. How much does that inner circle play into the decision-making process?
I mean, I think it plays bigger for some kids than others, if I'm being honest. Sometimes some of it is the name that they're wearing, on their jersey. Some of it is where they're from. So you have some factors that kind of outweigh another. And I think if everyone's being honest with you, they would probably say something very similar. The other thing for me too is these kids just play way too much these days. And so, I like to kind of dissect a little bit and figure out, those teams that are actually stepping back and practicing, fixing, maybe the errors that they made last weekend and preparing for the upcoming weekend versus, constantly just showcasing all the time.
It's hard. The body, it takes a toll that having to stay at that level and not, coming down and fixing something. I agree.
Right. I mean, but that becomes a thing once they get to college, it's all about preparation and performing and recovering. Right. And so, that's how we have to keep up with our athletes. And I mean, I can tell who hasn't been able to recover fully. And so, you're able to take a step back with those individual athletes. And it could be for a number of reasons. But I think a lot of stuff that's happening in the travel ball world today is it's just, perform or compete. And there's not a lot of recovery and there's not a lot of preparation. And we're kind of missing the true athlete experience. And I think that's one thing that we're really good about here. My head coach, Jordan Fitzpatrick, she's really big about the athlete experience and keeping up with, the mental health side of things. And I really respect that. She's one of the ones that, sold me about coming to Maine. She's really passionate about Maine, having been a player here and assistant coach before getting the head coach job. But, that passion is big too, but it really kind of bleeds into how we treat our athletes and it translates to how you want to recruit them too. So
I talked to Michelle Smith not too long ago. You might know her, the two-time Olympic gold medal winner, Michelle Smith. It's funny, you mentioned the exact same stuff she did about the preparation, prehabbing before an injury happens, because we don't do enough of that prep work. But she mentioned it. We play too much travel ball year round. It's gotten out of control to a point where I don't know if the train's ever going to stop. It's just going to keep going. It's like once it's been going on now for quite some time, but like once you get to that certain level, these players and these coaches feel like they have to keep playing these tournaments. If they don't, they're going to miss something. And there's like, they cram everything into that little 6 to 8 weeks of these national level tournaments and stuff, but they don't let their body recover from the last weekend, and they're not getting any better from that last weekend because they don't have time to, decompress a little bit. Is there anything that until I guess we smarten up, in this space? I mean, is there anything that we can do or anything that maybe we can change from the NCAA level that may have an impact and may be able to save these athletes before they get to you and they come to you and they've got an injury that they're not ready to play for you because they're just overworked?
I think from an NCAA standpoint, they could open up our recruiting calendar a little bit, so that there's not such a short time frame for the kids to feel that kind of pressure. I would rather, see some kids kind of step back, take a weekend down, go to the lake, be kids, take a chance to recover. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of teams out there that are just playing every weekend to play every weekend. And I don't know that there's much of a mission or goal there. But if you look at some of the top organizations, which you mentioned, earlier, they're playing the top events or they're not playing at all.
Right.
I know some organizations I've talked to and, they've said, we're not going to risk injury playing some podunk event. So if it means we take the weekend down, we take the weekend down, and then we get out to a major event the next weekend. I think that's the right direction to go. But I think, to your point, some of it starts at the NCAA because they're limiting the amount of recruiting time that we actually have, at our level anyway. And these kids feel pressure. They feel like they got to be on the dirt. So many of them are guesting in with other teams, even though their team is off. And it's just crazy. And all of that leads to the problems that we have in the transfer portal. It leads to, injury. There's so many problems that it creates overall. It's become pretty crazy.
As we kind of wind down from COVID, the impact that COVID had on college sports.
Oh, yikes.
The transfer portal. What has that done for you guys on decision-making as far as super seniors, eligibility, carrying scholarships, there's a big impact that happened a couple of years ago, and we're kind of starting to move out of that. What has that done to you guys, being able to kind of manufacture your roster in a way where athletes that are coming up from high school are still getting their opportunities that they deserve or they have, and also allowing these girls to have their senior seasons? What impact did that have on you guys?
So we graduated 10 last year. 2 of them are coming back for their 5th year this next year. We were pretty conscious about the amount of money that we had versus the amount of money that we wanted to spend, so to speak. And obviously, to grow a program, you have to have attrition. So you have to let the kids graduate and move on. And there's a big part of me that says, hey, that they deserve to have their makeup year and whatnot. But you really have to look at the big picture of things. And does that change the dynamics of your future? And you make a decision today that affects you for a few years, because now you've got money tied up, or, a position that you pass up on recruiting when you could have brought in a young player to let them sit behind someone and develop a little bit. So I think we've been really conscious about that here at Maine. I think most programs out there are as well. We're fortunate enough to be fully funded with 12 full scholarships here at UMaine. There's not a lot of mid-major programs out there that have that. So that part forces some different decision-making as well. We're a little more fortunate in that regard, and didn't necessarily feel the pressure that some other programs may have felt.
Well, talking about scholarships and softball being an equivalency sport, can you kind of go into a little bit of detail and maybe explain that to parents or some players that don't understand exactly what that means? It's not the same as football.
Sure.
There is a big difference in how scholarships are broke down, D1 through, NAIA, and then even in D1 mid majors and the Power Fives and stuff. Can you kind of go into that a little bit about what you guys have to do with your scholarships and how that can affect a player?
Sure. So everyone's heard the term full ride. The term full ride comes from football. They have 85, 100% scholarships to give away. Softball does not. It's what we call a percentage sport. So we have 12 scholarships if we're fully funded. So what you have to do is you have to find out if the program is fully funded. I know some D1 programs. I just talked to a D1 coach this last weekend while I was out recruiting, and he's got 5.4. So 12 scholarships available. If we're going to roster, let's just keep numbers around 24 kids and we split everyone in half, then obviously everyone's getting 50%. That's a perfect world. It doesn't work that way. The truth is some kids get 20%, some kids get 60%, whatever the case may be. We here at Maine give a percentage because if tuition is raised, they still have a percentage of tuition versus a flat dollar amount. So there are some programs that will give you a flat dollar amount. There's also some programs out there that won't allow you to stack your academic and your athletic money on top. So we here at Maine will allow our athletes to stack. And we do take a super score when it comes to their ACT or SAT. So there's a lot to kind of factor in, but yes, you're right. D2's 7.2 if they're fully funded. Again, they're going to roster roughly the same amount. That just means a lesser percentage. D3 strictly academic, no athletic money whatsoever, and NAIs have up to 10. So you just got to do the math, do a little research. It goes back to what we talked about earlier about actually being in touch with programs where you can legitimately play, fits within your bubble, of distance that you're willing to go, and offers the education that you're actually looking for. So
I'm glad that you explained it the way you did right there, because a lot of people, they don't, like you said, they hear the word full ride and they think I'm going to get a full ride to go play softball. And there's a ton of them out there that do get those, I call them the unicorns, but there is so many more that are stacking that academic. And, you hear the term now, it's a 40-year decision versus a 4-year decision.
100%.
That's, that's big for players to understand that. And I want to get into some of these myths with you, have you do some myth busting. And I'm sure you've heard them, but it's the biggest one is that I hear is once they're committed, once they're signed, they don't play for their travel team anymore. So that like last season, their senior year, that last summer season, don't play with your showcase team or your travel team. We want you to come in. Answer that on both sides. Continue to play, or if you need to not play before you get to us. That's one side. That's one argument that I hear. Don't play or play. Okay.
Okay. First off, when you commit, that's when the work really starts for you. So I've been interested in you as a certain type of athlete. I like your speed. I like your power. I like your arm, whatever. Now it's time to turn it on and make those things better. So 100% play, and play at the highest level that you possibly can. Now, I really want you to focus on recovery and that type of thing. Now, come that summer, that when you've graduated, now our strength coach is able to send out a summer workout program to you. Be honest with yourself. Go through that summer workout because there's a reason for it. It's going to help keep you healthy, when you get here and help you to recover and that kind of thing. But 100% play. They have to be out competing. Look, you've seen kids come off an injury and a pitcher goes out, and sits 6 weeks for a sore shoulder, and she's got to get back into pitching shape when she comes back. And it takes time. So you take time away from the game. It takes time to get back into it.
Right.
But you got to have, that recovery time in. Can't stress that enough.
All right. There's another one. I'm a third baseman. That's the only position I play. I signed with University of X. That's the only position I'm going to play. I don't need to worry about playing other positions.
50% of the time, a kid that was recruited at a certain position ends up at another position at their school. So I would highly suggest that you learn other positions, try to get some reps there when possible, and be as versatile as possible. Because at the end of the day, if I've got a kid that I feel that gives me a chance to compete in another position, she's going to get moved over.
Right. I use the term unofficial visit quite a bit when I'm talking about student athletes going to camps and campuses. And the reason why I do that is because when you go to a camp, it gives you an opportunity to not only fill out the coaches a little bit, fill out the players, but have a sense of that atmosphere that's on that campus and kind of what's going on. Coaches are allowed to actively recruit players at camps.
Yes and no. Yeah, it depends. So a 23 that comes to my camp, she may get, invited back for a visit or something like that. 24s get identified, obviously. And, that's a kid that I'm going to reach out to on September 1st.
Right. That's September 1st. When it comes and you don't get a call, should you be worried?
So let's back up a little bit, because I love this topic. September 1st is the kid getting a call at 12:01 a.m. because no one could tell me that she didn't know that call was coming if she's answering the phone. Okay, but anyway, no, you don't necessarily have to be worried. So, what I tell people is if your phone wasn't ringing on June 15th when D2s are allowed to reach out to you, you've got some work to do to get it to ring on September 1st. But, at the end of the day, there's a lot of programs out there like mine that we want to take the fall to really, figure out the 23s that we want to join. And so that doesn't mean that we're not identifying and reaching out to 24s. And I've got 25s that are on the board that have been identified. It gives me a chance to watch them over time. But, your phone doesn't ring September 1st, figure out why. Get some emails out, and don't be afraid to call coaches. I think that's one thing too, is, these kids today, they don't understand. D2s can talk to them if they happen to, answer the phone while they're in the office. The contact rules are designed for us outgoing. So, call. But you mentioned a minute ago, kids getting on campus and looking around. If that's what you're going to do, pop into the coach's office, say hello, let them see your face.
Right.
And if we can talk, we'll talk. If we can't, we'll explain to you why.
I think that right there, that's going to give that athlete a warm and fuzzy, regardless if you can talk to them or not. But you taking the time and having that personal conversation with, like, hey, look, NCAA rules say I can't talk to you right now, but, and then whatever you say to them, I think it gives that kid like a little spark to try a little bit harder. If they just go to a camp, it could be just nothing. It could be like 100, athlete camp. I'm able to be here, and they shoot you that real email saying I'm coming.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Or they give you that phone call. They're just walking around. I want to go see this, the facility or whatever. Having that one-on-one conversation with you guys is big for them. It gives them it's tangible at this moment, because I think a lot of it with these athletes, it's intangible, and they don't really know. They get so much bad advice, and they think they know. Doing this myth busting thing is there's just so much stuff that just it's screwed up because they just don't know. They're listening to the wrong people instead of asking the college coaches, the recruiters, assistant coaches. asking these scouts the real questions. I don't know if it's like a stigma, like they're scared, or they think they can't talk, or they're going to get in trouble. I don't know.
Tyler, I love it. You're a smart cat. So here's what I always tell people. If your kid is sick, would you take her to the auto mechanic to be healed? If your car breaks down, would you take it to the beauty salon to be fixed? I mean, there's people that specialize in every field out there. So stop listening to some knucklehead who sits on a bucket tell you about recruiting, and actually research and figure it out yourself. And if you make a couple of calls, coaches will educate you. There's many coaches out there that, I mean, they're all about their heart, and they're going to pour it into the kid and teach them whatever they want, even though the kid may not even be interested in their program. So do the research on your own and stop listening to some knucklehead at the field. That's the easiest way I can put it.
I think, we were both in the Marine Corps. And I don't know how many times you heard it, but I used to hear it all the time. Squeaky wheel always gets the grease. And that's just always stuck with me. And I use it today. Like I'm not scared to ask a question. And I try to tell the athletes that I work with you got to communicate with me. Don't just nod your head when I ask you, hey, can you feel that? Don't just tell me, yeah, I can feel that. Explain to me what you feel. So on this swing or whatever, with this drill that we're doing, so we can talk. If you don't tell me, I don't know what you're feeling. So you being, in the Marine Corps, how has that helped you, communicate and be a leader, whether, it was in Kansas City or now, in Maine? Like, how has that helped you along the process?
So, I mean, the Marine Corps being as structured and disciplined as it was, it really translates well to the world, I think. I mean, and let's face it, in the Marine Corps, we all had a leader that no one wanted to follow. So, the biggest thing is translating that to sports. So, for example, I grew up a military brat. My dad was military, very strict military man. But his thing was, and I don't know, what kind of research you've done. My dad coached for a long time as well, played high level men's against Mike White, and
wow.
Tail end of his career against guys like Wally King. But Dad always said, no one cares what you know until they know how much you care. So you kind of translate some of that discipline and structure into a really heartfelt, type of culture. And the kids will buy in and they'll follow you anywhere. Girls more so than boys. Girls are much more team oriented. One of the biggest things that's kind of changed, I think, is, from my generation, or I don't think you're as close to me as, so I don't want to include you in like our generation, but I think I can include you to the respect, being a Marine yourself, you can relate. We're not afraid to call people out, and you can do it from a place of love and really kind of get them really accountable and whatnot. Girls, they don't want to hurt one another's feelings, so they find a delicate way, if they find it at all. So it's just trying to get that to come across the way that it needs to come across, in the right way to keep a nice, healthy culture moving forward. But I really appreciate my military background and what it's given me in the world today. I think you'd have to ask someone else if I'm a good leader, but I feel like I was given the skills to do it, and I really try to be that person that can get them to where they need to go and do it from a place of love and care. I mean, my players, I think of them all as my daughters, and they're someone else's daughter. And, how would I, want my daughters treated? And so I play all that in, to my military background. And then there's times that, Jordan and I'll sit back and, she'll say, that's the military in you. That's what makes you a little different in this thought, this particular thought process or something. And that's okay. She and I are very much alike, but we drive it a little different to get there, if that makes sense. Right. But we want the same thing. So we learn to kind of figure out who's best at what. And a lot of it is the military stuff that kind of drives me.
I think I'm in the same boat you are, as far as, it gave me a foundation with how to lead. I mean, it's different leading in the military than it is in the civilian sector. I mean, I'm sure some people would say I'm not a great leader, and then others probably say, hey, he does pretty good. I think it gave, more than anything, I think it gave me a start of how to relate with everybody. I try to find something in common with them because, it's a band of brothers when you're deployed or whatever. So it gives you a sense of how to read people and, have some empathy with whatever they're going through and just being able to communicate, because a task has got to get done. And no matter what your mission is, a task has got to get done, and you got to get as many people on board as you can. And because everybody pulling in the same way is a lot easier than you by yourself out there pulling. So I figured out that I became a better leader when I came, not the realization, but I jumped on board with, I don't know everything. People know more than I do. And I'm going to do my research. And I think that with the Marine Corps has given me the opportunity to do what I do now. Doing this podcast is I talk to people just like you and listen to you guys, because it just helps me, makes me a better leader, makes me smarter. As we wrap this episode up, you've been in a couple of different situations in your coaching career, and they've all led you to the point that you're at right now. As you continue going into this season and this process that you're in, what is something that you can take from maybe last year or the year prior that you're going to implement this year with your leadership style, implement this year with the team that you have going forward, and continue to build the, University of Maine into a powerhouse?
And Tyler, we're supposed to be homies. You can't get so deep on me. So honestly, the day I stop learning is the day I probably need to move on to something else. I'm constantly learning and analyzing. I still have a lot of people that, are mentors to me today. And I reach out to those people all the time. And then, just kind of stepping back and realizing, what I could have done better in the process, me personally, and then what we as a staff, as a coaching staff, could have done better, and making some adjustments. There's a lot of things about last year, and I think we do really well here as a 2-person staff, managing everything. I'm not going to tell you it's not difficult, because it is. I think there's a lot of programs that really don't know the luxury that they have of having 3 or 4 coaches on staff. Being a 2-person staff is a challenge. I think we manage it really well, but I think there's a lot of things that we've learned that will enable us to look more like a 3-person staff, just by changing up some of our styles on things. And at the end of the day, you really have to be accountable, for yourself as well. And so, I really don't feel like anyone ever holds me more accountable than what I hold myself. Yeah. And so it takes a lot of soul searching. What can I do better, and how can I be better for these kids that make us a better team overall? And we have some really good kids, and they deserve to have a great experience, and we just got to figure out the best way to motivate them and get them going in the right direction. And we've learned a lot.
Right.
You look for us this year. We're gonna...
Wins and losses aside, what would make this coming up year a success for you?
So I was really proud this last year that, I mean, look, kids go into the portal for different reasons. We did not have a single kid go into the portal. I think that's a success in itself. But wins and losses aside, I think you have to hit milestones. I think you have to hit goals along the way. And so, you know, for us, we want to, you know, increase the amount of stolen bases. We want to, you know, increase the amount of doubles that we have. You have all of those on-field things, but, you know, I think a huge success is just having a huge positive culture where you're making an impact in their lives. Here at Maine, we allow our kids to major in anything because, look, life is so much bigger than the game itself, and we need the kids to have to leave with a good degree that is going to help them in life and not be hindered. You know, so I'm thankful for that part, and I think we just got to embrace it and really nurture it through the culture.
Absolutely. I think that right there kind of, if I had to give an impression of who you are, I think you wanting success from others is the type of person that you are. You want others to succeed. I think University of Maine did a great job partnering you with Jordan. You know, just the little bit that I've been able to talk to you and some of the research that I've done on you. I mean, everywhere you go, you turn it, you know, even into a more positive situation, whatever it is that you're doing. What do you have right now personally going on in your life that you want to promote, you know, get a good word out there? What do you have going on in the world of Scott right now?
I mean, honestly, Scott doesn't have much of a world. I'm blessed to, you know, have an amazing family and, you know, grandbabies and you know, I was able to see all of them this summer, you know, out on my trip, and, you know, a loving, supportive wife here in Maine. My youngest daughter moved up here as well. So they kind of fully understand that I kind of dive right into what I do. And so I'm pretty invested in this, that I don't have much of a world, but you know, there's really exciting times here at Maine that, you know, I mean, we've got a brand new turf stadium being built. It's like an $8.3 million facility. And, you know, we've got some really good recruits coming in. We've got a tough schedule built out. And, you know, there isn't much personal time, you know, that's happening, and not much to really promote because things are so exciting here that just kind of keep my attention. So
that stadium is going to be crazy. I've been keeping up with the progress that you've been kind of sharing to the world. That thing is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I bet you can't wait to get on the field.
It's going to be beautiful. So Jordan and I, mostly Jordan, we were able to design it how we wanted it. Obviously we had a budget to work within. So I tried to sell them on having a Columbia blue infield and a navy blue outfield, but I couldn't get it done. My sales skills are failing me on that. But the field is going to be beautiful. We went with a little longer turf on the outfield, so a little more realistic length grass. And then she compromised with me and gave me a huge color logo, this logo.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, in center field. But, you know, it's going to have the hitting and pitching pavilion attached to the dugout, heated dugouts, which you don't know what you're getting in the spring here in Maine. So sometimes it's really cool, and you'll appreciate those heated dugouts, and a new dome. And I mean, it's going to be beautiful. We're super excited. And as a matter of fact, we're going to practice at a high school for this fall, a local high school. but our surface and the buildings around it are supposed to be up by the end of October, and then they'll be like building out the inside of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have some updates to put out in the next couple of weeks.
That'll be cool. I can't wait to see it. I mean, I keep up with it, and like I'm trying to imagine myself if I was going to be able to one day design something like that, and just trying to think of everything. I don't know if I could. I mean, what you guys are doing, it looks amazing. As far as the turf is concerned, I didn't know that you make it more realistic out there, and instead of just like a skin, it like you have it raised up just a little bit so it acts natural to a ground ball to hit, and it's just not just scooting to the fence.
Yeah, there's different lengths you can go, and we went with a little longer one, but typical skin fields are a little more versatile, and you could theoretically put a softball field on a baseball field if it's a skin field. You can fit in there and that kind of thing, but with your own individual field, we went for it.
That's cool. I know that helps with recruiting. Girls getting brand new facilities looking, it looks sharp. So that's awesome, man. Well, Scott, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time with me today. I'd love to have you on in the future. Maybe as we get a little bit closer to that facility getting done.
Yeah.
Or, right before the season kicks off. I know you're busy hitting, what are we, a few weeks away from that September 1st date. So I know you're crunching here. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the people?
Oh, no, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been my honor to be with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure, man. Don't be a stranger. I'm going to be bugging you on social media for updates. Make sure you're posting those pictures of the facility for us.
All right. MAINE, go blue.
All right. So that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you so much to Scott Woodcock and the University of Maine for jumping on board with me today. We covered a lot of different things, whether we're talking about high-end travel ball, showcase ball, and recruiting. One thing I want you to take away from this episode, if nothing else, make sure you do your research. Research that school or schools that you're interested in going to. Are they even recruiting your class? Do they have the degree program that you're looking to earn a degree in? There's a lot of different things that goes into it other than, well, I'm going to go here. Hopefully I can make my way onto the roster. It doesn't work like that. Make sure you do your research. If you like this type of content, make sure you're liking and subscribing. And if you share this, share it with a friend. And when you do, you tell them you love it.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.